How is this comfy? I fail to see.
Now, the agenda for the day is to spend as little as possible. It's January, I'm a freelancer, I ain't got no money. But this trip was booked before I realised just how no money I would have. So I don't want to not experience the things that Dublin have to offer. I really also only have today because tomorrow my flight is at 6 o'clock, so I've got to get the airport, which means I've got to factor in travel and all of that stuff. That's fine. So most of my sort of activities, things to do, I'm gonna want to do today because I'll have just my backpack, not my suitcase. That would be a nightmare. And I did ask on Instagram and you came through with a ton of suggestions of things to do because I don't want to not experience things like sitting in a pub drinking a Guinness, but it's just I can't necessarily do loads of that because I believe Dublin is one of the more expensive cities in Europe, because I suppose in many places it's a tourist trap as well. So having a Guinness, even though the storehouse is right around the corner, is as much a part of the experience that they can extort as anything else.
Should we do a little room tour? I think it's appropriate. So this is the Herbert Park Hotel, and the first thing you're going to notice is a double sink situation. I've only ever had this once before and it was in Las Vegas and it was thrilling then, it's thrilling now. Highly recommend. That's a picture of a lady doing yoga. I am kind of obsessed with this. This happens a lot. This is essentially, I suppose, to make it look like, oh, a little rose, a little flower sticking out of your toilet roll. But it is, at the end of the day, simply a piece of toilet paper. Plenty of storage. We have simply opted to not use. Very comfy bed. Very, like these pillows are, oh, yeah, that'll do you. All mod cons. I can watch Gladiators later on. We still have BBC One, although I actually find RTE, RTE, absolutely thrilling. We've got here an espresso machine, which, you know, remains intimidating to me. Might just stick with the tea. This business magazine, I'm quite thrilled with because it looks a little bit like, I mean, this headline just came with the template, didn't it? They just like downloaded business magazine front cover template and used that. And then here's the view. Currently it's dry, which I quite appreciate. Later on it's supposed to apparently be quite not dry, so I'm going to go and do all of my activities in the dry part of the day. But the aim of the day is just appreciating the nice things. Like many European cities, Dublin's very walkable, so perhaps I can just go for a big wander. And I have put together sort of like a little agenda that takes me around a particular route so that everything flows into the next activity. Also helpfully, my hotel has a little spinner with a bunch of things to do cards where I can pick and choose the bits that I want to get up to. Some of them are a bit expensive, some of them are completely free, and I definitely think we'll be coming back here. Probably in the spring, so there are certain things like Killen Thomas Woods, I would like to go to see that when the flowers are blooming, you know? But the Guinness Storehouse, which I actually have done several years ago, is something that I won't be getting up to today because when someone was like, hey, you should go to it, it's €35. And I was like, that kind of defeats the object of, you know, cheap. There you go, Molly Malone statue. I feel like that's probably free. I can go and have a look at that. And I actually have had this as a specific recommendation, the National Wax Museum. It is slightly more on the expensive side, but I mean, it would have to be given the sheer quality. First things first, I've got to get myself places. So I have here a Leap card. This is Ireland's answer to an Oyster card. So I'm going to head down to the nearest dart station, top this up, and see what we're gonna do. Oh, now before he goes out, just let me say a quick thank you to this week's video sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark is a virtual private network, and on this trip to Dublin, there were several ways it came in very handy indeed. First and foremost, keeping my data safe while I'm off wandering around a new city, connecting to a bunch of public Wi-Fi portals. Anyone up to mischief trying to use that public Wi-Fi to do funny business with my data, Surfshark steps in the way, kind of like my own personal bouncer. Not only that, but with Surfshark, I'm able to change my virtual location, which has plenty of advantages, but two key ones for this video were. First of all, I'm spending my time in Dublin trying to save as much money as possible, and if I wanted to do that in other cities, because it was quite a fun challenge, I could find a way to save money before I even get there in the first place by using Surfshark. I can use its servers all over the world because flights actually cost different amounts depending on where you book them from. I know. But the second and most crucial reason was it was Traitors Weekend. Now, there was a very real possibility I was going to get stuck in Dublin because of the storm, and if that was the case, I'd maybe get home and be caught on the tube, and there'd be spoilers flying around all over the place. I'd walk into the office and see someone had drawn it on a big sign. Couldn't be having that. You know how much I hate being behind on gossip, and while BBC One was available in the hotel, iPlayer is not available in the Republic of Ireland. I needn't have feared, because with just a few clicks, I was hopping right back over the Irish Sea and able to appreciate the glory of betrayal, subterfuge, and Claudia, orange as
this third of the Irish flag. If you'd like to give it a go, and I strongly encourage that you do, because I've never been more grateful than I was to be able to have access to my little stories, well, you're in luck because I have an exclusive deal just for you. Click the link in the description and use the code DanielJ for up to 6 additional months absolutely free. Thank you once again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video and saving me from Spoiler Town. And now let's head it back over to main video Dan. Where will he wander next? Interesting little thought I've had. London, for all its faults, is very good at public transport. To the point where I think I take it for granted and I don't appreciate it in the moment, because when I get to a different country, I'll get off the plane and think, right, I'm just gonna take public transport. And then I'm stuck. Because in London, you can just sort of tap in and out anywhere, Oyster card, contactless, even your phone, and it'll work out the fare for you and debit you appropriately. That isn't an option here in Dublin. It wasn't an option in Boston. It wasn't an option in Rome, Paris, New York. Maybe some of those have changed in the years since I've been, but as a general rule of thumb, public transport, you need to like sort of queue up and get tickets and all the rest, or tap in or top up your cards, like the Leap card that I'm about to do. It's just weird to think about. London's had you tapping and going since 2012, and I don't really know how or why that technology hasn't spread around. Maybe there is a reason. Maybe you know the reason. Maybe it's in the comments down below. Bit loud. Right. I like wandering around campuses and having a little nose around. It's a weird thing, but I guess I kind of enjoy imagining all the people who study there and like what they're studying, why they chose to come here, what their life is like. Maybe I'm kind of imagining the alternate universe version of me. Like when I went to Harvard, I was wandering around cosplaying a Harvard student for a little bit. I don't know if people would have quite the same emotions if they went to my university in Lincoln, but hey, Lincoln has a hill. So I've done the National Gallery, or a little bit of it. I gotta be honest, I don't know if I'm a gallery girl. I feel a bit clueless. I'm just looking at a picture and I'm like, that's nice, but I don't really know what my response is. So I think I need to devote more time, if I'm going to a gallery, to allow for that. And that's not the vibe of today. So instead, I went to the Archaeology Museum and saw the bog bodies. So that was really interesting. I do like a little bit of history. My favourite museum is the Museum of London, which shows you this city all the way through to now. I like more sort of like, I guess, history that seems more within my reach than I like the sort of Paleolithic stuff. I don't know. But hey, look, it was free. I had a lovely time. And now I've worked up quite the appetite. So I'm going to go and try and hunt for some food. Oh, a voiceover, can you imagine that? I decided to do a spot of window shopping. This is Hodges Figures, it's a bookshop. You know me, it's a simple system. I see one, I go in. It turns out flicking through books with just one hand is actually quite hard. But I did find one that I want to pop on my wish list, so don't mind me, just gonna add that to the pile. Across the road is Tower Records, which is a massive vinyl and TV, DVD shop extravaganza, but in all of it, would you believe, couldn't find a single Janet Jackson record. Personally, quite offended by that. I also found out that when I go to different cities, one of my favourite things to do is eat. And because this was a trip where I'm trying to save as much money as possible, I wasn't going to all these cafes. So I'll pop them down and go next time. This one in particular, Bewley's, I think it's pronounced, is one I want to go to. Downstairs, you can actually go and watch the bakers at work. Not unlike a zoo, but I quite enjoyed watching this man do his little rolls. Look at that. Delightful. How thrilling. I tried to do some sort of people watching video gathering, but both times I seemed to focus on these bins. So enjoy those. I've had a pretty successful day so far. It's literally getting to 12:30, 1 o'clock-ish, and I haven't spent a single thing other than the transport to get in here, because there was a bottle of water at the hotel, so I just used that. I haven't even had a coffee yet, and I'm in a good mood. Isn't that remarkable? I am getting quite hungry though, so walking through, I want to say St. Stephen's Park. I'm going to a cafe that was, oh my god, there's so many seagulls. Look at all those chickens. Absolutely insane. Anyway, that brief seagull interlude, which is not over, I can see them over there, interrupted me while I was saying, what was I saying? Yes, we're gonna go get brunch. So rather than just going to a fast food eatery that I know and love, I thought I'd take the recommendation. Someone offered it, so I'll have it. So Firm Bully, I think it's called. I'll figure it out when we get there. I'll put it in the map. Also, Google Maps says this is Stephen's Green, so not Park, Green. Well now, see, hang on, Google Maps said it was the Green, not the Park. Pick a lane. I'm having a really nice day, you know? I'm just basically wandering around, taking various streets and following Google Maps and seeing where it gets me, and listening to my audiobook. I'd show you what it was, but I'm using my phone to vlog myself. I don't know, there's something about wandering aimlessly with no sense of specific purpose that works for me when I'm travelling. Did it in Edinburgh to great effect. And I'm having a nice time here as well. Oh, a castle!
It's empty.
Sometimes I feel like spending time in the hotel is a bit of a waste of time, especially if you're in a city and you haven't got along like I have. But then at the same time, when it's this sort of couchy, comfy situation, it's sort of a little bit of a shame to waste it. And also, I walked 18,000 steps today, which I'm very proud of. I feel like I saw loads of stuff. Like, my favourite activity really is just wandering about a city and looking up and listening to my book. But I feel like it's a nice way of experiencing a city and seeing a park and nipping in and out of a shop whenever you see one. I saw loads of shops. There's a beautiful little kitchen shop, ton of little bookshops. Although every time I went into a bookshop, and I do feel, maybe this is controversial to say, as someone who A, is a proud former bookseller, but also B, loves reading books, there comes a point where a lot of the bookshops are very sort of similar, especially if you are, like me, with a colossal to-be-read pile. You do sort of see tables piled high with the same sort of books. The vibes within them all were very nice, so there is that. But also, I was looking for, wherever possible, a second-hand sort of Irish cookbook, because in the shops I went to, the Irish cookbooks were all like celebrity chefs. And that does work for me, but within those celebrity chefs' books are things like Korean chicken, jambalaya, and I'm like, not here for a book on those things. I would like a book on Irish cooking. I'm looking for like an Irish cooking Bible. I went to the lengths of being on my hands and knees when my hands and knees were knackered from a day of walking, poring over the piles of secondhand cookbooks in this cute little shop called Books Upstairs. And I saw a plethora of Italian, I saw loads of Indian, Vietnamese, I even saw an English cookbook here. But the one thing I couldn't find was bloody Irish food. So in the end, I did get something. I had to flick through this, American Favourites by Betty Rosbottom. Sorry, Betty, that was incredibly childish of me. You deserve better, especially with recipes like hot and sassy chicken wings. But the main reason I ended up going for this, well, it was twofold. First of all, there is a recipe in here for peach of a tea. And last summer, I kind of got very into peach iced tea, but I could never quite perfect the recipe. And there's something about the idea of an American peach iced tea that really sings to me. And also, since I couldn't find an Irish cookbook, Americans basically pretend to be Irish at all times anyway. So it's like it's the next best thing. In terms of the tally of stuff that I spent, I'm actually quite pleased. We haven't gone for dinner yet, but dinner is the choice of her indoors. She gets to say where we want to go. So I'm kind of drawing the line on my day's spending spree here, but I'm quite happy with that as a total. Yeah, good for me.
Just as an extra little bonus tip, if you want to save a bit more money, you could always book a flight when there's going to be a storm that grounds you, and then the airline will put you up in a hotel and pay for your dinner. That saves a bit of money, doesn't it?